You have to become comfortable with blindness and understand that it doesn't define you. It definitely adds some flavor to my life, but it does not define me.
Meet the Blind Month, lived experiences with self-confidence.
Hi, my name is Brett Boyer. I am a technology trainer here at the Colorado Center for the Blind. I've been here about 2.5 years.
Hi, I'm Eric Guillory, and I am the Director of Youth Services here at the Louisiana Center for the Blind in Ruston, Louisiana, and I've been here for about 13 years.
Hi, I'm Tay Mack. I'm the Personal Management and Life Skills Instructor at Blind Incorporated in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I've worked here for about 4.5 years.
Importance of self-confidence.
Self-confidence is so important because that's the only way that the low expectations can be addressed.
Having to deal with like society's attitudes surrounding blindness, issues surrounding inaccessibility and things of that nature, those things can be so mentally and emotionally exhausting for people. So having the ability to advocate for oneself and also having self-confidence is really, really important when you have to navigate society.
I agree, because like we said before, without self-confidence, how can you speak up for yourself if you don't even believe in yourself?
So often we're told to sit and wait, stay on the sidelines, don't worry. You're amazing and inspirational, but we'll move that furniture for you. Oh, don't worry, we don't need any help.
And it makes you feel different inside when you have that self-confidence. It's skills, it's knowledge.
Just knowing that before taking on any task at hand, just having that knowledge that, hey, I can truly do this, and understand that, you can really live the life you want.
Self-confidence is important in that we need society to give us a chance to live those ordinary lives.
Self-confidence at home, work, and everyday life.
Like, you have to have the ability to be confident in your blindness. You have to know how to sell yourself. So in class, sometimes we'll have these activities where I'll ask students, hey, convince me to move to California, or convince me that, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the best cereal, because I want them to get in the habit of selling themselves, because for a lot of them, like, selling a cereal or a location is so much easier than selling themselves, because they lack the confidence and they don't really understand that blindness isn't a weakness. And I tell them, like, hey, for the rest of your life, you will have to sell yourself, whether it's on a college, admissions application, or in a job setting. You have to learn how to sell yourself and spin blindness into something that's a positive. And a lot of them will ask, about job interviewing. How do I talk about my disability, my blindness in the workplace? And I always tell them, like, hey, there's a large probability that in your interview, your employer will ask you to list a strength that you have or a weakness. And I tell them, this is the time to address the elephant in the room. Blindness is a strength. Why is blindness a strength? Because as blind people, we have to be adaptable, flexible.
That's awesome.
Yes, we have to, problem solve. You spin it and you sell blindness, because as a blind person, I think I've been afforded more of those like soft skills that a lot of sighted people don't naturally possess.
I really think it's important, though, to encapsulate what Tay said about blindness being a strength, because blind people themselves oftentimes don't believe that their blindness is a strength. All too often, as a blind parent, there are people who seem amazed by the fact that I'm a dad. For me, as a dad who happens to have two sighted children, for them, blindness is nothing unusual. It's nothing new. It's something that they've known all their lives. In fact, I remember a situation where I was moving a very heavy box at work. And so I put my cane up against a wall so that I could carry the box with two hands. And I took care of that. And then I grabbed my cane. And at that time, my family had driven up to pick me up. And so when I got in the car, my wife said to our daughter, who was about 4 years old at the time, she's now almost 12, she said, "Tell your dad what you said to me." And our little girl said, "Daddy looks better with his cane." And so again, for her, blindness was nothing to be thought negatively about. It was just one of the many characteristics about her dad. And so, again, that in and of itself inspires so much confidence to know that your family has high expectations for you as well.
I do know that self-confidence plays a part in everything I do. Riding the buses, crossing the streets, walking my dog, and just it's who I am. If I didn't have the self-confidence that I have, I don't know how life would be, because you have to be a bit more vocal. I remember one time we were at a networking seminar and I was the only blind person in the room, and there was a nice little cheese and cracker assembly up at the table, so just going up and getting some food was nerve-wracking for me, because I knew, well, before I get to the food, I'm going to have to, make my way through the random clusters of people that are standing with their backs to me. You know what I mean? And you play those head games, and sometimes it is hard to get out of that space, but it's about, I think there's a quote that says, do something every day that scares you, right? Isn't that like an Eleanor Roosevelt quote, something like that? And it's true. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to jump up on stage with the megaphone.
Blind and self-confidence.
For a lot of people, when they think of blindness, they use qualifiers like legally blind or partially blind or things like that, or they quote some dry medical definition of what it means to be blind.
We hear, all these songs that use blind in their lyrics. Everything, I'm blind. Love is blind. This is blind. I've always thought, gee, could we make it a little more positive? And so sometimes I feel like these extra words make people feel better.
Sometimes the newer students, they will come in with those fancy terms for blindness. But I tell them, you have to become comfortable with using the word blind. Like, it's okay to be blind, and you're blind, and that's perfectly fine because it's respectable. But I always say, hey, like, how many colors of blue, well, shades of blue are there? Like, I can list out at least 10 now, but what do they have in common? They're still shades of blue. So it's like, regardless of how well you see or you don't see, whether you consider yourself visually impaired or low vision, it still falls under that umbrella of blindness.
And because of the skills, because of the mentoring, because I have come to accept my blindness and realize that it's actually a strength, I've come so far, and you will also.
You have to become comfortable with blindness and understand that it doesn't define you. And it doesn't define me either. It definitely adds some flavor to my life, but it does not define me.
So knowledge is power, but self-confidence is your drive.
National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.